Okay, so we're just going to take a quick look at some basic building. I'm just going to focus on the floor here. Just hold down your Alt key and then left click. So this is your build tool, the hammer, and I'm just going to whack on the ground there, and that'll give us a cube. Now I can do various things to the cube. I can move it by just dragging these arrows around. Move it up and down. These corner arrows give you access to the grid, and it will snap to the grid as it moves around. They're often quite a tricky way of moving things though. So if you're doing kind of reasonably fine movement that you're probably used to build something, using these arrows is probably best. If I want to spin the object round, I can hold down Control on my keyboard and spin it round and round. And if at any point I want to undo what I've done, I can just press Control and Z, and it'll go back through the steps, and then Control and Y will move you back through them, which is fairly standard Windows setup. Should I want to resize the object, I can hold Control and Shift, and a series of boxes will appear. Corner boxes make it smaller and larger on every dimension, and the coloured boxes will just stretch along one axis or the other. And there's a neat little trick with resizing, that there's a toggle here that will make it either stretch both ways from both ends, or just one end, which you'll find useful when you're trying to line things up. All of those rotate and stretch can be activated by the radio buttons down the side here as well. And if we go under Object, you can see there are values for all of them. So for instance, I can make this much wider this way, which is the x-axis. You can see it's in red, and there's an x in red there, so I'll set that to 5 meters. It will stretch right out, and I can still mess around with the red box. Right, I think probably the simplest thing to do is to build something simple so you can just see how this system works. It's always a good idea. I set this all back to the default values, which are 0.5 of a metre to a side. So we start from our starting box. It's always a good idea to line whatever you're building up on some whole numbers. So in this case I'm going to use 167 for X and 132 for Y. And hopefully that just makes our life a little easier as far as arranging things goes. In fact, let's set Z as well. We'll put Z on 25. Right, we're going to make a bit of a table here. It's always a good idea to have your view controls available so you can pan and spin around your object. So in order for this to be a table, it's going to need to be kind of not quite so thick, so let's reduce the thickness down to about there. It looks about right. And then I've already decided that I want a table that's 4 meters long and 3 meters wide. It's going to be a bit of a conference table. Oh, actually, having said I wanted 3 meters, I've now decided I wanted 2 because 3 looks a little weird. So there's my table surface, which was pretty easy to put together. Now we need to give it some legs. I'm just going to move it up a bit so I can see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to shift and drag it down. Alright. And now I want to make those, if that's one leg, it's a little bit thick really, isn't it? So let's make it slightly smaller. So, how wide's a table leg? Maybe 20 centimeters, so I'm going to put it down to 0.2 meters by 0.2 meters. And as you see, this is still at 167 by 132. And I want to get to the corners. Well, it's this table is 2 meters wide this way. So if I look on the y-axis, it should be, if I set it to 133, and go to an edge very nicely, and then if I put it it to 165.5. It'll go to a corner because I'm taking 1.5 meters off a 3 meter table. Nah, not there, but close. So we got roughly lined up with numbers, and now let's just have a little fiddle with the arrows to make it go onto that corner. There we go. And then I want to stretch it, but obviously I want to make sure this is ticked off, so we'll just stretch it downwards and not upwards as well. Make a nice long table leg, and then I'm just going to move it up slightly so it touches onto that, and it needs to come into the right a little bit. Cool. And now I want to, that's a little bit more, and now I want to copy it across, so hold down shift, drag that table leg across there, and drop it off on the other side. Now I want to select more than one object at once. I can press shift and click on the other object, so I've now got both of those selected. Rotate round, just move that out of the way, hold shift down, drag them across to copy them, and stick them on the other end of the table. And there we go, we've got a reasonable table. I mean, I probably want to fiddle around and line things up a little better, but it's not too bad. So what I want to do is get this so it's a table, it's not a collection of wooden blocks. So holding shift, I select all the objects in the table, and then I'm going to press Ctrl L to link them together. And as you can see, they're now turned blue and the tabletop turned yellow. The tabletop's turned yellow because it's the root prim, so everything rotates around, and they're turned blue to show they're linked. I can now move all that along with just one click. It's always a good idea to rename whatever you've built. So I'm going to rename that table. Oh, where we can actually spell it. And then if I close that out, I can now just right click and take that entire thing, and it's all counted as one object. If I go into my inventory and drag it out again, it comes out as a single table. Should you link stuff together, you should do it again by pressing Ctrl L, and then decide you don't like it linked or you need to move some bits around. You can edit linked and then click on one of those linked pieces and move it around individually. Just put that back by doing Ctrl Z and toggle that off. You can also do Ctrl Shift L, which unlinks all the parts, so these are now individual items again. Okay, I think that's probably it for now.